Discuss on the feeding and nutrition of the cows. So this is very important because when you take a dairy sector as such, if you ask any farmer who is getting animals, dairy animals, he will always complain about the loss that is usually taking place in the dairy sector. So hardly you can see very few farmers who are making a profit out in the dairy sector. Most of them will be under the loss because they consider the milk production as a source of income through the dairy sector. So it's not so because if you consider only milk as a source of income from the dairy sector, definitely they will be under loss. So we have to think of the avenues which we can get it from the dairy sector, like the e-foods. If we can grow the calf at a faster rate or good rate, so that they can achieve the puberty at early, that is especially in the calves, they achieve the puberty not based on the age. It is based on the body weight. If they attain the body weight, required body weight, 50% of the mature body weight, they will come to the puberty and they can be fed bread at the 50 to 60% of the mature body weight. So that if the farmer could achieve this as early as possible within 1 year, so that he can breed his calves, so that the animal become pregnant and can be sold. So that is also a major source of income, because if you now take the market price, so if we sell a pregnant heifer, it will be costing around revenue or a high yielding from a high yielding cow. So if you are selling a high yielding heifer, so that will be costing around 60, 70,000 or more than that, depending on the production capacity. So moreover, not only the calf, we should take into consideration the avenues or the income from the dairy sector also, like how best we can utilize the cow dung, the urine. So these are all the sources. Anyhow, so coming to the feeding and nutrition of the cows. So this is very important because when we grow a crop, any crop as such, if you don't nourish the crop in the early stages, so if you, definitely it will going to yield a very poor quality yield. So because if you don't nourish it at the right stage, if you don't give the sufficient amount of fertilizers to any crop at the early stage, and if you are going to give a fertilizer at the later stages, at the end stage when it is start the flowering, so then it is very difficult. So it becomes very difficult uh, for the animal to give the yield. So in this aspect, so we're going to discuss how best we can feed the calf, how best we can feed the calf so that they can achieve the good body weight in the early stages. So coming to the feeding, so the feeding of the calf can be divided into two phases. So one is pre-ruminant phase, and next is the ruminant phase. In the pre-ruminant phase, so actually the feeding of the calf starts at the mm, when there is a conception, and when the calf is inside the womb, especially in the third trimester of the pregnancy. So the pregnancy is divided into three trimester, so of 3 months each. So in the third trimester, there is a rapid growth of the fetus. So during this phase only, the dam or the mother should be fed with the extra amount of nutrient, so that the calf growth is optimum. So optimum calf growth can be achieved. So here during this phase, the extra allowance of concentrate should be given along with the green refuges. Green refuges are not only good source of fiber and the protein and energy, but also they are good source of the vitamin, especially the vitamin A, because immediately after the birth, the calf is likely to suffer with the vitamin A deficiency, which will going to lead to the night blindness or xerophthalmia. This is very common in the field conditions, especially a calf which is born to the cow which was suffering from the vitamin A deficiency. So this should be taken care. So here in the calf phase can be divided into the three phases. So among the three phases, the first phase, that is first 2 to 3 weeks of the cough, is very critical because during this phase the digestive system has not developed completely, and even though it is developing rapidly, but it will not be able to digest the nutrients, digest the solid food. So that's how the first 2 to 3 weeks of the life of a calf is very critical. So here during this phase there will be maximum mortality or the death of the calf. So that's how we should take care. So here the this feeding of calf can be divided into three phases. The first phase is liquid feeding phase or the liquid phase. So this is up to 21 days or 3 weeks. So here there is a the rumen is not developed. So rumen, there is not be any function that is taking place in the rumen because the rumen is designated for the digesting the fibrous materials. Since there is no fiber and there is no the function of the rumen is nil. So during this phase, the above mesom size is bigger. So this is a true stomach. So it is a bigger and it occupies the 60% of the total stomach. So whatever the liquid that is fed to the calf or the whenever the calf suckles the milk, so it goes directly to the abomasum through the reticular rumen uh, rumen groove, or it's also known as esophageal groove. So through this it goes directly to the abomasum and where the digestion takes place. So it's a like a non-ruminant. So up to 3 weeks of life, we can say it is a in the phase of non-ruminant phase. Okay. So it is as good as any non-ruminant animal. So here we should give importance to the feeding of the calf with a liquid feed. Even though the solids are introduced, especially the concentrate, some amount of concentrate is introduced from the seventh day or 10th day of the life, but this will not going to give any nutrient. So the amount of nutrient that is supplied up to 3 weeks from the solid feed is very limited. So we have to provide a liquid feed in an optimum condition or adequate amount so that the is calf will not suffer from the nutrient deficiency. So this is very critical phase. Next is the transition phase. So this is from the 22nd day to 56 or 84 days, depends on the breed of the animal and also depending on the type of the diet. So here, so we are slowly moving from the liquid diet to the solid diet. So we have already introduced the solid feed from the 10th day onwards, but after the 22nd day the solid feed start, the digestion of solid feed will be very good or very optimum. So during this phase we should provide a feed which is having high nutrients, because here there will not be any rumen microbial activity and there is no microbial protein production. So whatever the solid feed or concentrate feed we provide at this stage, we should be have high biological value. We should have all the amino acid composition. We should have high protein value, so that the protein requirement, because the calf is very growing at a very rapid space. Here the calf will be growing at the rate of 500 grams per day. So it will be accumulating nearly half kg per day body weight. So here we have to give maximum importance to the protein, a good quality protein, possibly animal source of protein should be supplemented in the diet so that the maximum growth can be achieved. So during this phase, the five roughage, even though roughage is introduced to the animal after the 15th day. So, but roughage is introduced only to stimulate the rumen growth. So it will go into the enter to the rumen and it will go into tickle the rumen and it will go into initiate the development of the rumen. So that there will be slow development of the rumen and there will be microbial fermentation to some extent. And due to the microbial fermentation, so there is a due to the microbial fermentation, so so there'll be due to microbial fermentation, there is a production of volatile fatty acids, and due to production of the volatile fatty acids, so it will go to enhance the development of the rumen. Okay. So then the next phase is the ruminant phase, that is 84 days onwards or about 3 months. So here the solid feed will going to have a more influence. So here we should give a good starter feed, a good concentrate. Along with that, we should introduce a good quality roughage. That is the especially the leguminous A. So why leguminous A is, so they will have a good protein concentration. So they will have a good level of carbohydrates, and they are easily soluble carbohydrates. So this will go into enhance the 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 growth rate in the calf. So this is very important. In the ruminant phase, we should give importance to the, so because during this phase the rumen is developing and it occupies 85% of the total stomach, and as the rumen percentage increases, the abomasum percentage decreases to 7%. So here we should give more roughages. Here quality roughages should be provided along with the concentrate above 84 days. So this is in brief about the broad classification. So coming to the first phase, that is the liquid phase or the pre-ruminant phase. So first is the feeding of colostrum. So colostrum, as we know, it's a thick, creamy yellow secretion. This is the first colostrum referred to a first milk that is secreted, not the second milk or the milking which is done on the second time. So this is the first milk which is secreted. So are the milk which is secreted, or it is suckled after the first time, or the from second to the eighth milking, it is referred as transitional milk. This is not a, it's not a colostrum. This is a transition milk, because the colostrum, the first milk, will have high nutrient composition. It will have high immunoglobulins. So this is very important. The colostrum is the first milking that we get. So why we should feed importance to the colostrum? Because colostrum will be have high antibody concentrations, will have high protein concentration. So if you see the protein content of a colostrum, it will be 17% as against 3.3% or 3.5% in a ordinary milk. So it will have high protein concentration, and most of the protein in this colostrum will be immunoglobulins, that is IgM, IgG, and IgA. So among these, the immunoglobulins, IgM and IgA help in the fighting the or destroying the antigens and the microorganisms, and IgA protects the intestinal lumen, or the abomasal lumen and the intestinal lumen from the infection. So this is colostrum feeding is very important during the phase. So here the colostrum will have high concentration of antibodies. So this should be fed. So not only colostrum, colostrum not only provide the immunoglobulins, it also acts as a good source of nutrient, because it has having a high concentration of protein, high concentration of lactose. It has high concentration of minerals, along with that high concentration of vitamin A, D, E, and trace minerals. So this provide a good nutrient source to the calf, and it also act as a source of hormone and growth factor. So since many hormones are secreted in a dam, so it will be stored in the colostrum, and these hormones also helps in the growth of the calf. And colostrum also provide a laxative action. So this is very important for the feeding of a colostrum, because so when the first feces that is coming from a calf, it is called as meconium. So this should be the excreted from the animal. So if the meconium is not excreted, if there is no excretion of the meconium from the calf, it will go into ferment in the intestine, and this lead to the release of toxins, and there will be chances of accumulation of gases. The animal may go off it, and there will be chances of death also. So the colostrum, since it gives a laxative action, so this will go to remove all the content from the intestine, or from the gut, and it helps in the digestion process. So this is very important. It acts as a laxative. So when the colostrum should be fed, so you must be knowing. So within half an hour after the birth, the colostrum should be fed, because there is in the intestine, there will be more pores. The pore size of the intestine will be more, so that they can absorb the immunoglobulin as such. So since they can permit, the intestinal wall can permit the absorption of the the immunoglobulins as such. So it can go up to 12 hours, but if the animal is fed, if the calf is fed within 30 minutes, it's good. So within 30 minutes, the absorption efficiency is 35 to 40%. Whereas if you exceed more than 12 hours, it decreases to so less than 10%. So it is better to advise the farmers to go for feeding within 30 minutes. And the calf should achieve a immunoglobulin concentration of 10 milligram per ml of serum. So this should be checked if you are going for a thorough breeding practices. Then the concentration of the colostrum, the antibody concentration of the colostrum is also influenced by the many factors like the length of a dry period. So minimum of 2 months of dry period should be allowed to the cow so that there is a sufficient accumulation of the antibodies in the colostrum or sufficient of protein that is secreted in the colostrum. And sometimes what happens even before the calving, there is a chances of the milk leakages, especially in the high yielding animals. So if there is a leakage of the milk, there will be loss of the colostrum. So colostrum, which is referred to the first milk only, so you cannot say second milk. So if the colostrum is lost through the leakages, the teat leakages, so the antibodies will be lost. So this should be taken care. And also age of the cow also influence the concentration. So if the cow is older, then it will have more antibodies compared to the equals. Because so since as the age advances, the antibody level increases because it will be exposed to the many infections. So and it might have developed many antibodies against the infections. So the level of antibody increases as the age of the cow increases. And when it comes to the breed, so HF is known to have a lower antibody concentration compared to the other breeds, like Jersey, Ayrshire, and Brown Swiss breeds, or if you take the Indian breeds. So the HF is because it will have secretes a very thin milk, and when you say colostrum, it should be very thick, creamy. Because in HF, within it will secrete less concentration. So if the colostrum is not available, we can go for artificial colostrum. So this is not a total replacement to the colostrum, but somehow there is no colostrum is available, then we can think of a supporting. So it will not be as a replacement to the colostrum. So some supplement, something is better than it. Like here, this is composition, what warm water, rye, and castor oil as a laxative, vitamin A, warm whole milk, and the antibiotic. Mix and is fed at it is slightly heated to the temperature of 40 degrees centigrade, and it is fed mixed. So then the milk feeding. Then after the colostrum, the milk feeding. So first 3 months, the calf should receive sufficient amount of milk because the calf is in a state of the liquid phase and the transition phase. So up to 3 months. So here we should receive maximum amount of milk. So a calf on average should receive 110 liters of whole milk, or sometimes if the breed is high, it can go up to 160 liters. So sometimes what happens if it is a farmer or they have more milk and to have a more milk for the sale, so they'll decrease the quantity of the milk that is fed to the calf. So due to decrease in the quantity of the milk that is fed to the calf, so there is a chances of slow growth of the calf. Even the mortality of the calf will be more. So the calf should be fed sufficient amount of milk for first 3 months. So you should receive sufficient amount of milk. So along with the milk, we can go for supplementing, especially if the animals are like HF or Jersey, which will have poor composition of the minerals. Then we can think of supplementing some of the minerals like iron, copper, magnesium, manganese can be supplemented. Along with this, the green fodder can be given so that it will not going to it may not provide the nutrient, but it will going to stimulate the development of the rumen. So it is going to stimulate the development of the rumen. So this is the chart showing the feeding of the calf at different ages. So 1 to 3 days, it is only colostrum should be fed at 10 to 15% of the body weight, and 4 to 30 days, So the level of cholesterol is decreased to 10%, and we'll start introducing the from 10th day actually. So we're going to introduce some concentrate, a starter. So starter should have high protein, so that will be introduced, and along with that, some grasses here is introduced to stimulate the intake and also stimulate the development of the human. From 30 to 45 days, so the milk is decreased to 7% of the body weight because the calf is also growing. Along with that, a minimum of half kg of good quality concentrate should be fed along with the idling amount of A. A is there is no restriction because the amount of A taken in by the calf will be very less during this phase. So idlib calf is fed, idlib A is fed. From 45 to 60 days, we're going to reduce the cholesterol, reduce the milk to 5% of the body weight, and we're going to increase the level of concentrate. So beyond 60 days, we're going to, so there'll be ideally feeding of calf starter and the A. So coming to the milk replacer, sometimes what happens, it's not usually practiced in India. So in the developing countries, instead of feeding the milk to the calf, they go for a milk replacers. So because because sometimes we can prepare a milk replacer at a cheaper rate than the milk. But if you take the Indian conditions, so if you go for a milk replacer will be more costlier than the milk. So generally we don't advise going for a milk replacer in Indian conditions because now the milk will be costing near around 40 rupees. If you go for a milk replacer, it will be more than that. So because of the ingredient cost. So, but if you have got a scope for going for the milk replacer, or if the calf is not having a mother, so if there is no milk availability, then you can think of going for the milk replacer. It should resemble the quality of the milk. It should have same amino acid composition. It should have same biological value. It should have same vitamin composition and mineral composition, so that the calf growth is not affected. And along with that, it can go with some preservatives like butyric acid, citric acid, and antibiotics. So this will go to enhance the growth of the calf. So antibiotic in the early phase of the calf, we're going to control some of the conditions like calf score, the diarrhea in the calf, and it is going to stimulate the growth. So that is a, so usually it is not practiced in Indian conditions. So this is the composition of a milk replacer: wheat, fish meal, linseed meal, milk, cottonseed oil, citric acid, and molasses, and mineral mixtures, butyric acid, antibiotics. So this is how you can prepare a milk replacer. Then coming to the calf starter. So calf starter is introduced at the 10th day of the calf life. So this is a solid food which is introduced. This is very essential to introduce, not only to provide the nutrient, to also to stimulate the development of the gastrointestinal tract. So here, whatever the calf starter we prepare, it should have high protein value and should have high biological value. Probably we should have a protein which is of animal origin. So here the CP should be 23 to 26% and TDN of 75%. So this is sometimes when you formulate, it becomes very difficult to achieve this. So unless you have a animal protein source, so we should have a DCP of minimum of 20 to 25%, so that the calf growth is not affected. The can achieve a good calf growth. So this should be. So this is an example of the calf starter. So maize powder, groundnut cake, some protein sources, and fish meal is introduced, or skim milk powder can be introduced, or meat meal, and brands. So molasses, salt, mineral mixture, and antibiotics can be added. So this is an example for the calf starter. So then from 3 months onwards, so 3 months, up to 3 months, as I told you, you should give sufficient amount of milk ad lib, or according to the body weight of the calf. And along with that, you should give some starter and the roughage should be introduced. So from the 3 months, we should give importance to the feeding of good quality roughages. So good quality forages. So here we can go for some of the crops like bajra, napier, sorghum, guinea grasses. Along with that, so we can go for a lucerne, basim. So especially the leguminous will going to help. So, so along with the concentrate should be given at the rate of 750 grams per day from fourth month. And fifth month we can increase to 1 kg. So this is how we are going to feed. And after once the calf achieves 6 months of age, we have to separate the calf depending on their performance. The fast growing calf should be separated, and males and females should be separated, and the weaker ones should be separated, so that the extra care can be given to the weaker calf. So, and they are fed in a group, not as individual. So they'll be fed in a group after the 6 months to achieve minimum of 500 grams per day. So they should accumulate minimum of half kg per day. To achieve this, from 6 months onwards, we should give minimum of 2 kg of concentrate per day with a DCP of 16%, 70% TDN, along with 15 to 20 kg of green fodder should be given. So this is very essential from the 6 months onwards. So this is the chart showing what should be fed and at what level. So from 3 to 6 months for indigenous cattle calf, or a buffalo calf, 1 to 2 kg of concentrate along with the fodders at the level of 1 to 2.5 kg. Green plus dry fodders 2 kg, or green fodder 3 kg, star 2 kg, depending on the quality of the fodder. And crossbred, slightly higher amount of the roughages are fed. And from 6 months to 12 months of age, so we can go with the same level of concentrate, 1 to 2 kg. Along, we're going to increase the level of roughages, green fodders, and fodders can be increased. Leguminous, especially, we should give importance to the leguminous because they are going to provide more soluble carbohydrates, and also they are going to provide high quality proteins. So they should be fed. Then from 1 year age to conception, so high amount of roughage is given along with the concentrate, and good quality roughage should be given. So what is the importance of the feeding of the calf from weaning? So because this is the one which will go to influence, as I told you, the calf will attain the puberty not based on the body weight, based on the not based on the age, based on the body weight. So once the calf achieves 50% of its adult weight, so definitely it will going to come to the heat or stress. So that's how we should achieve this body weight as early as possible by 12 months or 13 months, so that the calf come to the puberty. Once the body weight of a calf achieves 60% of the adult body weight, say for example, if a adult body weight is 400 kg, so if the calf weighs it anywhere around 240 kgs or 250 kgs, it should be bred. It should be given a, it should be crossed, so that it will going to conceive and it will going to give a calf within 2 years of age. So that should be the plan, because if you if a farmer plans like this, then only you can within a 1 year, 1.5 year, you can sell the heifer which is pregnant, and you can get a revenue out of that also, not only from the milk, from the selling of the calf also. Or calf, a heifer itself will going to act as, will be one more source of income when it calves in the farmer shed. So that's how we should plan, so that the dairy sector can be economical. So along with that, we should we should see that the heifer should not become too fat. If you are feeding high level of concentrate, more than 3 kg, 4 kg, so sometimes it become fatty, and fat, there is a chances of fat became being accumulated on the reproductive organs, and there is a less chances of the conception. So this should be taken care by giving a proper exercise along with the feeding practices. So then the required minerals, vitamins should be supplemented. If the greens is not supplemented in the diet, then we should give a vitamin A supplementation in the form of injection at the rate of 10,000 international unit, because vitamin A, so as we have discussed, not only it is required for the vision, so it is also required for the growth of any cells. So it will going to maintain the integrity of the cell membrane by cross-linking the lipid and the protein. So wherever there is synthesis of a new cell, this vitamin A is required. So that's the importance of the vitamin A. So usually there will be a infertility problem in a calf or a heifer due to deficiency of protein and energy, and also vitamin A and phosphorus. So these are the four components which play a very important role in the fertility. So these are the four. So especially in Indian condition, usually in developed countries, they don't consider the energy because sufficient energy will be given. Only they consider protein and the the vitamins supplementation. But in Indian condition, since we are underfeeding, most of our animals are underfed, so we have to give energy, protein, phosphorus, and vitamin E. So this should be supplemented 2 months before planning of the for the breeding. So whenever there is infertility cases, if you go to any village conditions or the farmers, they will have a more infertile animals because of the deficiency of these four elements. So if we can supplement these for the 2 months duration, definitely the third month animal will going to come to the heat and it will going to conceive. So this is the importance. So because the effer, if it is not, if the calf is not fed properly, so it will go into the age at service or the age of estrus is going to be prolonged. So unnecessarily we will be keeping a calf in a shed. So if you keep a calf, if you keep an animal unnecessarily, it will be a burden to the farmer. So you unnecessarily have to feed the animal, and it will increase the cost of production. So that if a non-performing calf is there, non-performing heifer is there in a shed, it will be a burden to the farmers. So you should see that it achieves the proper age, a proper body weight, and it conceives at a right time, and it gives a calf within 2 years of age. So this should be our priority when you are feeding the calf. So then, as I discussed, so at 60% of the body weight, mature body weight, it should be bred. And once it give a calf, first calf, by 2 years of age or 2.2 years of age, so the body weight should be 80 to 85% of the mature body weight. Okay? Because during pregnancy also still it will be growing, so this also should be taken care when you are feeding the pregnant animals. So this is the chart showing when should you go for the breeding. So puberty it will achieve by 40 to 50% of the mature body weight, and by when breeding should take place when it achieves 55% of the body weight, and you should calve when it is achieve 82% of the body weight, and second calving should be at 92% of the mature body weight. By third calving it will achieve the adult body weight. So this is the calf feeding of calf is very important, because usually the farmers what they will do is once the age of the calf is more than 1.5 years or 2 years, they will be worried about the consumption. So they will complain the calf is not conceiving or heifer is not conceiving. So then they start feeding the animals. So that will not going to help. So if you are feeding the calf at the early stage at the proper with the proper nutrition, so it will go into, because as I told you, when you are having a crop, so crop cannot be given extra fertilizer when it is flowering. So if you give extra fertilizer at a stage of flowering, so it will not going to help. It will going to give only less seed, or there will be less cob size in a, especially in the maize or any or any other crop. So that's what same thing is happening in the dairy sector also. So only feeding at the later stage when the calf is not, when the heifer is not coming to the eight, it will not going to help. So the staging feeding should start from the womb itself. So when the calf is in the mother womb. So then we should give importance to the not only to the milk production, along with the milk production, we should give importance to the feeding of calf, so that calf act as a source of major source of income, not the milk alone. So along with that, so this is in brief about the feeding of calf. So I'm going to share this slide, so you can go through the slide. So there are three phases of the feeding: the transition, the liquid phase, and the transition phase, and the ruminant phase. Liquid phase, we're going to give more importance to the liquid, and the transition phase, the more liquid and solids are fed. In the ruminant phase, we're going to introduce roughages, so that we're going to, yeah. So this is about the feeding of calf. Okay. So I'm going to share this slide along with some assignment questions. So you need to answer this and send it, as I'm going to mention the date of sending. Okay. Thank you. Take care.